They pressed cold steel against her temple on a tree-lined American street, smiling like they'd already won. 3 armed men, 1 unarmed woman. They thought they knew how this would end. They had no idea who they were touching. What happened in the next 90 seconds would shatter bones, spill blood across quiet pavement, and send a message echoing through international criminal networks. Some people don't break when you pull a gun. Some people break you. This is the story of the night Lena Cross stopped hiding. Before we begin, if you're ready to see what happens when predators pick the wrong prey, stay with me until the very end. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see just how far this story travels. Now, let's go back to where it started. The evening air tasted like salt and gasoline. Lena Cross moved through Brookhaven Ridge with the easy rhythm of someone who'd run this route 1,000 times. 6:15 p.m. Wednesday. The streetlights were just starting to hum awake, casting long amber pools across cracked sidewalks. Oak trees swayed overhead, their shadows dancing across parked SUVs and 2-story colonials with perfectly trimmed lawns. To anyone watching, she was unremarkable. 5'5", maybe 130 pounds soaking wet. Dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Black running tights, gray hoodie, worn Nikes that had seen better days. Just another suburban professional squeezing in cardio before dinner. They saw a woman jogging alone. They didn't see the weapon. Lena's breathing was controlled, 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Not from exertion, but from discipline. Her posture stayed relaxed, shoulders loose, but her peripheral vision swept continuously. Mailboxes, driveways, parked cars, parked funds. The teenager walking his golden retriever 3 houses down. The porch light that had been out on the blue Victorian for 2 weeks. She noticed everything. Always had. At the intersection of Maple and Shoreline, she slowed to check traffic. That's when she saw it. A dark sedan idling at the corner, engine running, headlights off, no one getting in or out. Wrong. Not wrong like someone waiting for a friend. Wrong like someone waiting for a target. Lena's pulse didn't spike. Years of training had beaten the panic response out of her nervous system, replaced it with something colder. She filed the detail away. Black Mercedes, tinted windows, too clean for this neighborhood, positioned at an odd angle that gave a clear view down 3 different streets, and continued jogging. She didn't look back. Looking back would tell them she'd noticed. At the next block, she adjusted her route, taking a right down Pinehurst instead of her usual path. The move looked casual, spontaneous. It wasn't. She was testing. If the car was random, it would stay put. 3 blocks later, she heard the engine. Low, smooth, closing distance but not rushing. Professionals. Lena's mind shifted into a different mode entirely. The civilian world, joggers, sprinklers, kids playing basketball in driveways, faded into background noise. What came forward was sharper. Tactical. The muscle memory of a life she'd supposedly left behind. She mapped the terrain without breaking stride. Residential zone. Houses set back from the street. Mature trees providing cover but also blocking sight lines. Few pedestrians this time of evening. No commercial areas for another half mile. Limited witnesses. Limited exits. If someone wanted to grab her quietly, this was the place to do it. So let's see what you want. Lena turned suddenly down Westbrook Lane, a narrow residential street barely wide enough for 2 cars to pass. Tall hedges lined both sides. The houses here were older, set further back, lights just starting to glow behind curtains. Behind her, the Mercedes turned too. No hesitation. No pause. Okay, now we know. Her breathing stayed even, but her hands flexed at her sides. No phone. She'd left it charging at home, a stupid mistake she was already cataloging for later. No visible cameras on this street. No joggers coming the opposite direction. Just her and whoever was in that car. The engine noise changed pitch, accelerating. Lena didn't run. Running would trigger chase instinct, and she wasn't ready for that yet. Instead, she angled toward the sidewalk, giving them space to pass if this was somehow a misunderstanding. They didn't pass. The Mercedes pulled alongside her, crawling at her jogging pace. The rear window lowered. Lena kept moving, eyes forward, but her peripheral vision locked on that opening window. She measured distances: 5 feet to the nearest driveway, 12 feet to a large oak that could provide cover, 20 yards to the intersection ahead. Evening. The voice from the car was male, mid-30s, American accent with East Coast polish. Casual, friendly, wrong. Lena didn't respond. "Hey, excuse me, miss?" She glanced over, just enough to see without breaking stride. 2 men in the back seat, another in the driver's seat, all watching her with the kind of focus that had nothing to do with asking directions. "Sorry, not interested," she said, her voice flat and unremarkable. The voice of someone who just wanted to finish her run. "We're not selling anything." The speaker leaned closer to the window. Mid-30s, sandy hair, expensive haircut, black jacket over a collared shirt. His smile was practiced, unthreatening. "We just need a minute of your time." "I'm good, thanks." She picked up her pace slightly. The car matched. "It's about your work," the man continued. His tone shifted, still polite but with an edge underneath. The smile stayed, but his eyes had gone flat. "The contract you're negotiating. We represent some concerned parties." Lena's blood went cold, not because she was afraid, because now she understood. She stopped jogging. The Mercedes stopped too. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. The street was quiet except for the idle of the engine and the distant sound of a lawn sprinkler cycling through its rotation. Lena turned to face the car fully. She didn't step closer. She kept her hands visible, loose at her sides, but her weight shifted subtly onto the balls of her feet. "Who are you?" she asked. The sandy-haired man's smile widened. "People who'd like to have a conversation. Somewhere private." "I'm good here." "We insist." "And I'm declining." The man in the passenger seat, bigger, shaved head, neck thick with muscle, turned to look at her. He didn't say anything. Didn't need to. His presence was the message. Sandy hair reached into his jacket. Lena's entire body tensed, ready to move, but he pulled out an envelope. Thick. Manila. He held it up so she could see, then tossed it through the window. It landed on the sidewalk near her feet. "Take a look," he said. "Then we'll talk." Lena didn't pick it up. "It's not a bomb," he added, amused. "Just pictures." Against her better judgment, Lena crouched and grabbed the envelope. She kept her eyes on the car, tore it open with one hand. Photographs spilled out. Her stomach tightened. The first photo showed her leaving her apartment building. Yesterday morning, 7:45 a.m. She recognized the coffee cup in her hand, hazelnut latte from the shop 2 blocks down. Second photo. Her car in the parking garage at work. Third photo. Her at lunch, sitting on a bench outside Harbor City Center, eating a sandwich. Fourth photo. Her jogging. This same route. 2 days ago. There were more. Dozens. Different days. Different locations. Her dry cleaner. Her gym. The grocery store. All time-stamped. All recent. Someone had been watching her for weeks. Lena's face remained expressionless, but her mind was racing. Professional surveillance. Multiple teams. Multiple days. This wasn't random harassment. This was intelligence gathering, proof of capability, a demonstration. She stood slowly, holding the photos. "Now that we have your attention," Sandy Hair said, his voice friendly again, "how about that conversation?" "What do you want?" Walk away from the Meridian contract. There it was, Meridian Energy Systems, the security consulting deal she'd been negotiating for 3 months. A multi-year contract to oversee physical security for their European and Central Asian pipeline infrastructure. Billions in assets, strategic choke points, the kind of work that could redefine her career, and apparently the kind of work someone wanted to stop. "That's not happening," Lena said quietly. The friendly mask slipped. Sandy Hair's smile died completely. "You misunderstand. This isn't a negotiation." "Then why are we talking?" "Because we're polite." He nodded to the driver. The car doors opened. 3 men stepped out in smooth, coordinated movements. They didn't rush, didn't draw weapons. They just spread out, blocking the sidewalk in both directions. Textbook positioning, one ahead, one behind, one to the side, cutting off escape routes. Lena's pulse finally kicked up. Not from fear, but from recognition. These weren't hired muscle. These were operators. Sandy Hair walked around the car. Up close, Lena revised her assessment. Early 40s, fit, moved like someone with training, military or private sector. His hand stayed loose and visible, but ready. The big guy from the passenger seat came around the other side. 6'3", maybe 240. Slavic features, dead eyes. The driver stayed back, watching, one hand inside his jacket. "Here's what's going to happen," Sandy Hair said, his voice dropping the pretense entirely. "You're going to get in the car. We're going to drive somewhere quiet. We're going to have a longer conversation about your future choices. Then we're going to drop you off, and you're going to be smart about what comes next." "And if I refuse?" He shrugged. "Then things get unpleasant." Lena looked at each of them in turn, calculating odds. 3 armed men. She could see the bulges now, shoulder holsters, maybe ankle backups. All trained, all ready, against one unarmed woman in running clothes. Most people would have gotten in the car. Lena wasn't most people. "I'm going to jog away now," she said calmly. "You're going to let me." The big Slavic guy laughed, a low, humorless sound. He said something in Russian. She understood it perfectly. "She thinks she's tough." Lena didn't react. Sandy Hair's expression hardened. "Last chance. Get in the car." "No." He sighed like she'd disappointed him. Then he nodded. The big guy moved first. He was fast for his size, closing the distance in 2 strides, reaching for her arm with the casual confidence of someone who'd manhandled dozens of people before. His hand was huge, fingers spread to grab her bicep and control the shoulder joint. Lena let him get close. Then she moved. Her weight shifted, her body pivoting just as his fingers made contact. Instead of pulling away, she stepped into him, inside his reach, her hand snapping up to trap his wrist. She twisted hard, using his momentum and her body rotation, and felt the joint start to hyperextend. He grunted, surprised, and tried to pull back. Too late. Lena drove her elbow up into his solar plexus, not hard enough to drop him, just enough to make him fold slightly, and used the opening to slide behind his arm, cranking it into a standing arm lock. 2 seconds. That's how long it took. The big guy froze, his arm bent at an unnatural angle, Lena's leverage making any movement excruciatingly painful. "Back off," she said quietly. Sandy Hair's eyes narrowed. He didn't look surprised. He looked intrigued. "Let him go," he said. "Tell your friend in the car to show me his hands." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Sandy Hair nodded. The driver slowly raised both hands, palms visible. Lena released the arm lock and stepped back fast, creating distance. The big Slavic guy rotated his shoulder, glaring at her with new respect and considerable irritation. "Well," Sandy Hair said. "That's interesting." "I'm leaving now," Lena said. "No," he replied. "You're really not." His hand went to his jacket. This time, he didn't pull out an envelope. He pulled out a Glock 19. The barrel came up smooth and professional, zeroing on her center mass from 6 feet away. No shaking, no hesitation, just cold mechanical certainty. "Get in the car." Lena's world narrowed. She clocked the weapon. Factory Glock, likely 9mm, 15-round magazine. Finger on the trigger, safety off. He knew how to hold it. The driver had drawn 2. She could see it now, a larger pistol, maybe a .45, aimed at her from over the roof of the Mercedes. 2 guns, 6 feet and 12 feet. No cover between her and either shooter. The math was brutally simple. If she moved, she died. "Hands up," Sandy Hair ordered. Lena raised her hands slowly. The big Slavic guy pulled out flex cuffs, grinning now. "Not so tough." He stepped forward. Lena's mind raced through scenarios. Once she was cuffed and in that car, the odds dropped to 0. They'd take her somewhere isolated. The conversation would be violent. Maybe she'd walk away. Probably she wouldn't. She had one chance. Right now, before the cuffs went on, even with the guns. Bad odds. Very bad odds. But the only odds she had. The big guy reached for her wrist. Sandy Hair's gun was still pointed at her chest, his eyes tracking her every micro-movement. "Don't," he warned. Lena met his eyes, kept her hands up, let the big guy's fingers close around her left wrist. His grip was iron. He smiled, pulling her forward to slip the cuff on, and Lena exploded into motion. Everything happened in fractions of a second, muscle memory taking over, instinct and training fusing into pure reaction. She grabbed the big guy's wrist with her free hand and yanked him forward, putting his body between her and Sandy Hair's gun. At the same instant, she snapped her head forward, cracking her forehead into the bridge of his nose. Cartilage crunched. Blood sprayed hot across her face. He roared, stumbling back, and Lena moved with him, staying behind him, using him as a shield, her hand darting to his belt. She felt metal. A backup piece. She ripped it free. A snub-nosed revolver, heavy, loaded. "Gun!" Sandy Hair shouted. She dove. Gunfire erupted. And fire. The first shot punched through the space where her head had been a millisecond earlier, the muzzle flash bright in the gathering dusk. The second shot hit the Slavic guy, friendly fire, and he went down screaming. Lena hit the pavement hard, rolled behind a parked SUV, came up with the revolver in a two-handed grip. She'd been in firefights before. This was different. This was American suburbia. Houses 20 feet away with families inside, kids' bikes on lawns, a dog barking frantically somewhere. Sandy Hair was moving, circling around the Mercedes, his Glock tracking for a shot. The driver was shouting into a radio, backup, evac, she couldn't tell. Lena didn't think. She calculated. Angle, distance, background. 3 houses behind Sandy Hair, occupied, lights on. She couldn't fire. He could. Another shot cracked past her, punching through the SUV's window. Glass exploded, raining down. Lena moved again, rolling left, coming up on the passenger side of the SUV. She had maybe 3 seconds before he rounded the vehicle and got a clean shot. She used 2 of them. Rising just enough to aim over the hood, she fired twice. The revolver bucked in her hands. .38 caliber, more recoil than she'd expected. The first shot went wide. The second hit Sandy Hair in the shoulder, spinning him back. He went down behind the Mercedes, cursing viciously. The driver opened fire. 4 rapid shots, professional suppression fire. Bullets sparked off metal, shredded the SUV's side mirror, forced Lena back down. She had 2 rounds left. Maybe. She didn't know how many the revolver held, hadn't had time to check. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called 911. Help was coming, if she lasted that long. "Fuck this," the driver shouted. She heard car doors slamming. The Mercedes engine roared. Lena risked a look. Sandy Hair was being dragged into the back seat, bleeding but mobile. The big Slavic guy was crawling toward the car, leaving a blood trail. The driver was in position, reverse lights blazing. She had a shot. Clean shot on the driver through the windshield. Her finger tightened on the trigger. But the car was already moving, tires screaming, fishtailing backward down the street, taking the corner hard. Gone. Lena stayed behind cover, weapon up, scanning for threats. Nothing. Just her, 3 pools of blood on the pavement, and the distant scream of approaching sirens. She lowered the revolver carefully, checked the cylinder. 1 round left. Her hands were steady, her breathing controlled, but her mind was already 3 steps ahead, running through what came next. Police, questions, reports. Her background would flag, classified markers all over her file. Questions she couldn't answer, and worse, whoever sent those men would know she'd fought back. The message had been sent. She'd sent one back. Lena walked to the middle of the street and knelt down, placing the revolver on the pavement in front of her. She laced her fingers behind her head. When the first patrol car screamed around the corner 40 seconds later, that's how they found her. Kneeling, unarmed, covered in someone else's blood, waiting. The officer's voice was sharp, adrenaline-charged. "Hands! Show me your hands!" "They're empty," Lena called back, her voice calm. "The weapon is in front of me, 4 feet. I'm not reaching for it. Don't move. I'm not moving." 3 more cars arrived within 60 seconds. Officers poured out, weapons drawn, forming a perimeter. One kicked the revolver away. Another pulled her arms down and cuffed her, tight, efficient, professional. "Face down," Lena complied, letting them press her against the asphalt. The concrete was still warm from the afternoon sun. She could smell motor oil and blood. "Anyone else here?" an officer demanded. They left. Black Mercedes. Virginia plates, partial, 7XR. 3 suspects, 2 wounded. heading north on Westbrook, then east on Maple. The officer processing her paused. You got a plate number? Partial. He keyed his radio, relaying the information. Around her, the scene was controlled chaos. More sirens, neighbors emerging onto porches, someone shouting about seeing everything. A new voice, older, calmer. Get her up, carefully. Hands gripped her arms, lifting her to her feet. A detective stood in front of her, 50s, gray hair, weathered face, eyes that had seen too much. His badge read, Detective Aaron Cole. He studied her for a long moment. You hurt? No. That your blood? No. He looked at the scene. Bullet holes, blood, shattered glass. Back to her. You want to tell me what happened here? They tried to abduct me. I defended myself. They? 3 men, black Mercedes. They'd been following me for blocks. Cole's eyes narrowed. You armed? No. Then whose gun did you use? I disarmed one of the attackers. His eyebrows went up slightly. You disarmed an armed man? Yes. And shot 2 others. I shot one. The other was hit by friendly fire. Cole was quiet for a moment. Then, what's your name? Lena Cross. What do you do, Ms. Cross? Risk analysis, private sector. Uh-huh. He didn't believe it, not completely. And these men, you know them? No. Then why would they try to abduct you? Lena met his eyes. I think you should run my background before we continue this conversation. Something shifted in Cole's expression. Wariness, recognition. Why? Because what comes back is going to change your questions. He studied her for another 5 seconds. Then he pulled out his phone, walked 10 feet away, made a call. Lena heard fragments. Victim. Yes, Cross. Lena, run it deep. Flag anything classified. 2 minutes later, he came back. His entire demeanor had changed. The cuffs, he said to the officer beside her. Take them off. Sir? Now. They removed the cuffs. Lena rubbed her wrists. Cole stepped closer, lowering his voice. What the hell came back on you is about 70% redacted. DOD markers, State Department flags, and a phone number I'm supposed to call if you're ever involved in anything. Lena said nothing. So I'm going to ask you again, and I need a real answer this time. What just happened here? Lena looked at the blood on the street, at the evidence markers being placed, at the crowd of neighbors watching from behind police tape. Someone wants me to walk away from a job, she said quietly. I said no. They escalated. I responded. What kind of job requires this kind of response? The kind people kill for. Cole's jaw tightened. Are you in danger right now? Active threat? Yes. Do you need protective custody? No. Ms. Cross, yes, I can take care of myself. You just saw that. He couldn't argue with that. All right, he said finally. But we're going to need a full statement. We're going to need to process the scene, and I'm going to need you to cooperate fully. Of course. And Ms. Cross? He leaned in. Whatever you're involved in, whatever this job is, maybe consider that walking away might be the smart play. Lena's expression didn't change. I don't walk away, detective. Even if it costs you your life? Especially then. 4 hours later, Lena sat in an interview room at Harbor City PD, drinking terrible coffee and answering questions. Cole had been professional, thorough, but also careful. There were clearly things he wasn't allowed to ask, boundaries his clearance didn't permit him to cross. He'd shown her photos from the scene, asked her to walk through every second. She'd complied, giving exact details, precise timings. The story never changed because it was true. By midnight, she was released. No charges. Self-defense was clear. Witnesses had seen the men force her to stop, seen the guns. One elderly woman had even filmed part of it on her phone, shaky footage, but enough to corroborate everything. A patrol car offered her a ride home. She declined. Outside the station, the night air was cool and clean. Lena stood on the steps, looking out at the city lights spreading across the harbor. Her phone, retrieved from her apartment by an officer, buzzed. Unknown number, she answered. Ms. Cross, The voice was familiar. Corporate. Professional. Gerald Hastings, VP of Operations at Meridian Energy. I heard about tonight. Are you all right? I'm fine. The police called me. Something about an attempted abduction related to our contract? That's accurate. Silence on the line. Then, Miss Cross, I want you to know that Meridian takes the safety of our consultants extremely seriously. If you need to step back from this negotiation, I don't. We would understand, Mr. Hastings. Her voice was steel. I'm not withdrawing. I'm accepting. Send me the contract. I'll sign tomorrow. Another pause. You're certain? Completely. Then, welcome aboard. We'll have security protocols in place for your arrival overseas, full support package, whatever you need. Good. I'll be in touch. She ended the call, stood there in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the men who'd tried to take her were regrouping, reporting to whoever had sent them, explaining how badly it had gone. And their employers, whoever they were, whatever they wanted, would be making decisions. Escalate, retreat, try again? Lena didn't know. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She'd crossed a line tonight. There was no going back now. The war had started, and she intended to win it. The apartment was dark when Lena arrived home at 2 a.m. She didn't turn on the lights. Instead, she stood just inside the doorway, letting her eyes adjust, listening to the silence. The building was quiet, just the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic filtering through closed windows. Everything looked exactly as she'd left it. Coffee mug in the sink, laptop closed on the kitchen counter, running shoes she'd never made it back to retrieve. But something felt wrong. Not obviously wrong, not intruder in the apartment wrong. More subtle, a displacement of air, a scent that didn't belong. Her training screamed at her to clear every room, check every corner. She moved through the space methodically. Bedroom, empty. Bathroom, clear. Closet, undisturbed. The fire escape window was locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry. Still, the feeling persisted. Lena walked back to the kitchen and opened the junk drawer. Beneath old batteries and takeout menus, her fingers found what she was looking for. A small lockbox, biometric scanner on top. She pressed her thumb against it. The lock clicked open. Inside was a phone. Not her regular phone. This one was encrypted, registered to a shell company, completely untraceable. She powered it on and waited. 3 missed calls, all from the same number. She didn't call back. Instead, she sent a single text. Compromised. Need extraction protocol. The response came back in 15 seconds. Stand by. Lena set the phone on the counter and walked to the window. Below, the street was empty except for a few parked cars and a cat prowling near the dumpsters. No surveillance she could spot, no obvious tails. But they'd found her once. They'd find her again. The encrypted phone buzzed. Not a text this time. A call. She answered without speaking. Lena. The voice was male, mid-40s, careful. No names, no identifiers. Just recognition. I heard about tonight. News travels fast. When one of ours puts 3 contractors in the hospital, yes, it does. A pause. You want to tell me what the hell happened? Meridian contract. Someone wants it dead. Someone who? Eastern European accent on one of them. Professional tier. Coordinated surveillance for weeks. This wasn't street level. And you engaged. They pulled guns in a residential neighborhood. I didn't have a choice. She heard him exhale slowly. The police ran your background. I know. How much did you tell them? Nothing that wasn't already in the redacted file. Self-defense, attempted abduction. They bought it. Because it's true. Because it's mostly true. Another pause. Longer this time. You're proceeding with Meridian? Yes. Lena, I'm not walking away. We've been over this. That was before someone put a gun to your head. And I'm still here. They're not. The voice on the other end shifted. Less handler, more concerned. You know what happens if you push this. They've already shown they're willing to go kinetic on American soil. That's a line most groups won't cross. Then we know they're serious. We also know they're desperate. Desperate is dangerous. Lena watched the street below. The cat had disappeared. Everything was still. I need a team, full package. If I'm deploying to Central Asia, I want people I trust. Already in motion, you'll have assets in place before you land. A beat. But Lena, be smart about this. You're good, but you're not invincible. I don't need to be invincible. I just need to be better than they are. You sure about that? She thought about the moment the gun had touched her forehead, the certainty in the gunman's eyes, the assumption that she'd break. Yeah, she said quietly. I'm sure. The call ended. Lena stood in the darkness for another 10 minutes, thinking through scenarios. They'd tried soft intimidation first, the photos, the implicit threat. When that failed, they'd escalated to direct confrontation. A gun to the head, an attempted abduction. What came next? The answer was obvious. Next time, they wouldn't try to take her alive. She needed to move faster than they expected. The following morning, Lena walked into Meridian Energy's regional headquarters like nothing had happened. The building was glass and steel, 20 stories of corporate efficiency overlooking the harbor. She cleared security with her temporary credentials, took the elevator to the 18th floor, and stepped into a conference room where 4 people were waiting. Gerald Hastings stood as she entered. Mid-50s, silver hair, expensive suit that looked uncomfortable on his runner's frame. He'd spent 20 years in oil and gas before transitioning to security consulting. Smart, cautious, not easily impressed. Ms. Cross, he said, extending his hand, thank you for coming in after everything. His handshake was firm but brief. He was studying her face, looking for cracks, trauma, hesitation. He wouldn't find any. Mr. Hastings. Lena took a seat at the table. The other 3 people watched her with varying degrees of curiosity. Shall we proceed? Hastings gestured to the woman on his left. This is Rebecca Torres, our VP of International Operations. She'll be your primary contact for the European deployment. Torres was late 30s, sharp-eyed, with the bearing of someone who'd spent time in actual operational environments. Former State Department, if Lena had to guess. Maybe DOD. She nodded without smiling. And this is Marcus Webb and Jennifer Cow from our legal and compliance team. Webb was young, nervous, already sweating despite the aggressive air conditioning. Cow was cooler, older, watching everything with the careful attention of someone paid to spot problems. Before we begin, Cow said, her voice precise, I need to address last night's incident. Our legal team has reviewed the police report. We understand you were the victim of an attempted assault related to your potential work with Meridian. That's correct? And you defended yourself successfully? Yes. Cow exchanged a glance with Hastings. Ms. Cross, we need to be very clear about something. Meridian Energy operates in complex geopolitical environments. We have enemies, competitors, nation-states, criminal organizations who would prefer we not operate in certain regions. That's precisely why we need top-tier security personnel. I understand. Do you? Torres leaned forward. Because what happened to you last night? That's not theoretical. That's the kind of pressure our people face in the field. Surveillance, intimidation, violence. If you're not prepared for that... I put 2 of them in the hospital, Lena interrupted, her voice calm. I walked away without a scratch. What exactly makes you think I'm not prepared? The room went quiet. Torres's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Respect, maybe, or recalculation. Fair point, she said. Hastings cleared his throat. Let's move forward. Rebecca, brief her on the deployment. Torres opened a tablet and pulled up a map. It showed a network of pipelines stretching across Eastern Europe and into Central Asia. Red dots marked key facilities. Meridian operates 17 critical infrastructure sites across 6 countries, Torres began. Natural gas pipelines, processing facilities, distribution hubs. Combined value, approximately $40 billion. The problem is simple. We're hemorrhaging money to theft, sabotage, and protection rackets. Local security is compromised or incompetent. We need someone to redesign our entire security architecture from the ground up. Why me? Lena asked. Because you have the background we need. Military, intelligence, private sector. You understand both conventional security and unconventional threats. And because you're American, Hastings added, our local security teams are too embedded in regional politics. Too many conflicts of interest. We need someone who doesn't owe favors to anyone. Lena studied the map. Who's currently providing security? A mix. Private contractors, mostly former military from the region. Local police who we pay extra. Some facilities have armed guards, others just cameras and fences. And the threat profile? Torres's jaw tightened. Organized crime. Russian and Ukrainian networks who've been extorting us for years. If we don't pay protection money, equipment breaks, pipes leak, workers disappear. We've been negotiating with them to avoid escalation. And now you want to stop negotiating. We want to stop being victims, Hastings said flatly. We've paid out nearly $70 million in the last 3 years. It's unsustainable. The board has authorized a complete security overhaul. That's where you come in. Lena turned back to Torres. What happened to the last person who tried this? The room went very still. Torres looked at Hastings. He nodded slightly. His name was David Kessler, Torres said quietly. Former Marine, 15 years in private security. Smart, experienced. We hired him 8 months ago to do exactly what we're asking you to do. And? He lasted 6 weeks. They found him in a hotel room in Bucharest. Official cause of death was heart attack, but the autopsy showed traces of a potassium-based compound, untraceable, undetectable unless you're specifically looking for it. They killed him. We can't prove it, but yes, we believe so. Lena sat back in her chair. And you're still proceeding with this plan. We don't have a choice, Hastings said. If we back down now, we lose everything. The criminal networks will know they can intimidate us indefinitely. Our shareholders are demanding action. Our insurance premiums are skyrocketing. We either fix this or we pull out of the region entirely. That's not an option. So you need someone expendable. The word hung in the air like a grenade. Cal stiffened. Webb looked horrified. Torres remained impassive. Hastings met Lena's eyes directly. We need someone who can survive what Kessler couldn't. Someone who won't back down when threatened. Someone who, based on last night's events, has already proven they can handle extreme pressure. You're offering me a contract with a life expectancy measured in weeks. We're offering you a contract with a 7-figure salary, full operational autonomy, and unlimited resources. What you do with that is up to you. Lena considered this. The room watched her. Most people would have walked out, but most people didn't understand what Lena understood. Running made you prey. Standing still made you a target. The only option was to move forward, fast, hard, and with enough violence to make predators think twice. I want full vetting authority over all security personnel, she said. No one stays on the team unless I approve them. Done, Hastings said. I want direct access to intelligence, local police reports, surveillance footage, financial transactions, everything. We can arrange that. And I want a dedicated communications channel back to this office, encrypted, real-time. If something happens, I need to be able to reach you immediately. Agreed. Lena looked at Torres. How soon can you deploy me? 2 weeks. We need to finalize contracts, arrange visas, coordinate with local authorities. Make it 1 week. Torres blinked. If someone's already trying to kill me here, they'll be waiting for me there. I'd rather arrive before they're fully prepared. Lena stood. 1 week. I'll send you a list of equipment requirements tonight. Hastings stood as well, extending his hand again. This time his grip was different, firmer, the handshake of someone sealing a deal with an equal. Welcome to Meridian, Ms. Cross. Lena left the building 20 minutes later with a signed contract, a temporary security detail she immediately dismissed, and a target painted on her back that was now visible from orbit. She walked 3 blocks before her encrypted phone buzzed. The message was short. Surveillance detected. 2 teams. Active. She didn't break stride. Didn't look around. Just kept walking at the same steady pace, letting her peripheral vision do the work. There, a gray sedan parked with the engine running. And there, a man in a coffee shop window, not drinking coffee, watching the street. They weren't trying to hide. That was the point. They wanted her to know she was being watched, wanted her to feel the pressure, to second guess, to break. Lena turned left down an alley. The sedan pulled away from the curb, following at a distance. She reached the end of the alley and emerged onto a busier street. Shops, pedestrians, traffic. Better. She ducked into a department store, took the escalator to the second floor, exited through a side entrance that led to a parking garage. The surveillance stayed with her. Professional, patient, fine. If they wanted to watch, she'd give them something to see. Lena crossed the parking garage to where her car was parked. A nondescript Honda sedan, deliberately boring. She unlocked it, got in, and drove out onto the street. The gray sedan was 3 cars back. She led them on a 20-minute tour of Harbor City, not trying to lose them. That would have been pointless. Just making them work for it, making them commit resources, letting them think they were in control. Finally, she pulled into the parking lot of a gun range on the industrial outskirts of the city. The sign read, Harbor Tactical, Members Only. Lena had been a member for 3 years. She parked, grabbed her range bag from the trunk, and walked inside. The surveillance team couldn't follow, not without membership credentials. They'd have to wait in the parking lot. Perfect. Inside, the rangemaster, a retired Marine named Carlos, who'd never asked about her background, waved her through. Lane 7's open. Thanks. She geared up, eye protection, ear protection, loaded magazines for her personal Glock 17, the one she kept legally registered, the one with no connection to last night's stolen revolver. Lane 7 was at the far end. She stepped up to the firing line, set a target at 25 yards, and began shooting. The rhythm was meditative. Breathe, aim, press. The gun kicked in her hands, the recoil familiar and comforting. She worked through the fundamentals, stance, grip, trigger control. Each shot punched through the paper target with mechanical precision. Center mass. Center mass. Headshot. Center mass. She wasn't practicing. She was making a point. After an hour, she cleaned her weapon, packed up, and walked back outside. The gray sedan was still there. Same position, same patience. Lena drove home. They followed. She parked in her building's garage, took the elevator up, and walked into her apartment. Still dark, still empty. But the feeling was back, stronger now. She stood in the kitchen, looking at the encrypted phone on the counter. Someone was escalating. Someone was watching. Someone was planning their next move. The question was, how long until they made it? The answer came faster than she expected. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. Not the encrypted one, her regular phone. Unknown number. She answered. Lena Cross. The voice was distorted, digitally altered, impossible to identify. You're making a mistake. She said nothing. The Meridian contract. Walk away. No. We're not asking. Neither am I. A pause, then. You survived last night because we allowed it. We wanted to talk. We wanted to negotiate. You responded with violence. That was disappointing. You pulled a gun on me. And you shot 2 of our people. Sent a 3rd to intensive care. Do you understand what that means? Lena's voice was ice. It means you underestimated me. It means you've declared war. You declared it first. I'm just responding. The voice laughed, cold, mechanical through the distortion. You think you're ready for this. You think because you have training, because you have experience, you can stand against us? I know I can. Lena Cross, 30 years old, former Navy, discharged 5 years ago, no family, no close relationships. You live alone, work alone, you're isolated, vulnerable. Her blood went cold. They knew. Not just about the Meridian contract, about her. We know who you were, the voice continued. We know what you did. We know why you left. And we know that the people you used to work for won't protect you anymore. You're on your own. Lena's jaw tightened. Is there a point to this? The point is that you have 24 hours to withdraw from the Meridian contract. After that, we stop being polite. You've never been polite. You're right. Let me rephrase. After that, we stop trying to keep you alive. The line went dead. Lena sat in the darkness, listening to her own heartbeat. They knew about the Navy. That meant serious intelligence capability, background checks, database access. Either they had people inside government systems or they'd bought the information from someone who did. Either way, they knew enough to be dangerous. But they didn't know everything. If they did, they wouldn't have tried to take her with just 3 men. They wouldn't have made last night's mistakes. Lena pulled out the encrypted phone and sent another message. They've ID'd my background. Request full countermeasure package. The response was immediate. Package approved, delivery 0600. She set the phone down and walked to the window. Outside, the gray sedan was still there, still watching, still waiting. Lena smiled in the darkness. Let them watch. Let them wait. In 6 days, she'd be overseas, in Meridian's territory, with her own team, her own resources, her own rules. And when they came for her again, and they would, she wouldn't be jogging alone on a suburban street. She'd be ready. The war had started, but it hadn't ended. Not even close. No. Morning came with cold rain and a package delivery. Lena signed for it without comment, a large hard-shell case marked as photography equipment. The delivery driver didn't ask questions, didn't make eye contact, just handed over the case and left. She carried it inside and opened it on the kitchen table. Inside were tools of a different trade. False identification documents, credit cards under aliases, cash in multiple currencies, a burner laptop with military-grade encryption, and beneath it all, wrapped in foam, a Sig Sauer P226, 2 spare magazines, and a combat knife with a ceramic blade. No note, no instructions, none needed. Lena assembled everything methodically. The pistol went into a concealed holster, the knife into an ankle sheath, the documents into a hidden pocket in her travel bag. By the time she finished, she looked exactly the same as before. But now she was armed for war. Her regular phone buzzed. This time, it was Hastings. Ms. Cross, there's been a development. Go ahead. We've accelerated your deployment timeline. You leave tomorrow. Lena's pulse quickened. Tomorrow? You said 1 week. We received intelligence overnight. Someone's planning to hit our facility in Romania. We need you on the ground immediately. What kind of hit? Sabotage. Maybe worse. Local authorities are compromised. We can't trust them to handle it. You're the only option. Lena looked at the weapons on her table, at the surveillance team still waiting outside. I'll be ready. Your flight leaves at 1800. Military transport. Off the books. No commercial records. We're keeping this quiet. Understood. And Ms. Cross? Hastings' voice dropped. Be careful. We're sending you into a war zone. I know. She hung up, stood in her apartment. Tomorrow she'd board a plane to Eastern Europe, to infrastructure worth billions, to enemies who'd already killed one consultant and tried to kill her, to a fight she'd chosen willingly. Most people would call that insane. Lena called it Tuesday. She spent the rest of the day preparing, packing, training, running through scenarios in her mind. When night fell, she stood at the window one last time. The surveillance team was gone. The street was empty. And somehow, that was more terrifying than being watched, because it meant they were done observing. It meant they were moving to the next phase. Lena turned away from the window. Tomorrow, she'd meet them there. And one way or another, this would end. The military transport was a C-130 Hercules that smelled like hydraulic fluid and old coffee. Lena sat alone in the cargo bay, strapped into a jump seat, listening to the engines drone. No windows, no amenities, just bare metal walls, cargo netting, and the constant vibration of flight. The loadmaster had given her a brief nod when she'd boarded. Recognition, without curiosity, then disappeared into the cockpit. She was the only passenger. That told her everything about how serious Meridian was taking this. Her phone had died somewhere over the Atlantic. No signal, anyway. She was alone with her thoughts and the equipment bag at her feet. Inside were the tools she'd need. The Sig Sauer, tactical clothing, encrypted communications gear, and a tablet loaded with facility schematics. The flight took 11 hours. Lena didn't sleep. She ran through scenarios instead. Entry points, defensive positions, threat assessments. By the time the loadmaster emerged to tell her they were beginning descent, she'd mapped every possible approach to the Romanian facility in her mind. Where are we landing? She asked. Mihail Kogolnicianu Air Base, military. You'll be met on the ground. The plane touched down hard. Military pilots didn't waste time being gentle, and taxied to a remote corner of the airfield. When the rear ramp lowered, cold Eastern European air rushed in, cutting through her jacket. A black SUV waited on the tarmac. 2 people stood beside it. The first was a man in his 40s, stocky build, wearing tactical pants and a weathered field jacket. His face was weathered, eyes sharp. Former military, she could see it in his posture. The second was a woman, younger, late 20s, with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore jeans and a leather jacket, but her stance was professional, alert. Lena descended the ramp, bag over her shoulder. The man stepped forward, extending his hand. Ms. Cross, I'm Victor Dalka. I run security for Meridian's Eastern European operations. His accent was Romanian, his handshake firm. And this is Anya Volkov, he continued, gesturing to the woman. My second in command. Volkov nodded but didn't offer her hand. Her eyes were doing what Lena's had done, assessing, measuring, cataloging threats. We need to move, Dalka said. The facility is 3 hours north. We've had another incident. What kind of incident? 2 guards found dead this morning, staged to look like accidents, but we know better. Lena's jaw tightened. Show me. They climbed into the SUV. Dalka drove, Volkov rode shotgun, and Lena sat in back studying the tablet. The facility was a natural gas processing plant, pipelines feeding in from 3 directions, storage tanks, control buildings, a small security barracks. Valuable. Vulnerable. How many people on site? Lena asked. 38 during day shift, 22 at night. Plus security should be 12, but we're down to 8 now after this morning. Local police involved? Dalka laughed. A bitter sound. The local police are why we're in this mess. Half of them are on the payroll of the Vulture Group. Vulture Group? Volkov turned in her seat. Organized crime syndicate. Romanian and Ukrainian membership. They control most of the protection rackets in this region. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking, and they've been extorting Meridian for 3 years. Until Meridian decided to stop paying, Lena said. Until Meridian hired someone who got himself killed, Volkov corrected, her tone sharp. David Kessler. You're his replacement. There was an edge in her voice, not quite hostility, but close. You worked with Kessler? Lena asked. For 6 weeks. He was good, experienced, smart. Volkov's eyes were cold. And they still killed him. What makes you think I'll do better? I don't. The SUV fell silent except for the hum of tires on rough highway. Dalka cleared his throat. Anya's skeptical because we've seen this before. Meridian sends someone from America. Big plans, big promises. Then reality hits and they realize this isn't a corporate security job. This is a war, and they either leave or die. I'm not leaving, Lena said quietly. Kessler said the same thing. Kessler wasn't me. Volkov turned fully around now, studying Lena with open curiosity. And what are you exactly? Your file is mostly redacted. Former Navy, but no details. Private security, but no client list. You're either very good or very good at hiding what you really are. Lena met her eyes without blinking. Does it matter? It does if I'm trusting you with my life. Then don't trust me. Trust what I can do. And what can you do? Lena's expression didn't change. Get out of the way and you'll find out. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Volkov smiled, small, barely there, but genuine. All right, she said. Let's see what you've got, American. The facility appeared on the horizon like an industrial fortress. Chain-link fencing topped with razor wire surrounded the perimeter. Guard towers at each corner, unmanned, Lena noted immediately. Floodlights on tall poles, most of them dark, even though sunset was approaching. The main buildings were concrete and steel, functional and ugly. Dalka pulled up to the security checkpoint. The guard on duty looked exhausted, mid-50s, overweight, cigarette dangling from his lips. He waved them through without checking identification. Jesus, Lena muttered. Welcome to our security situation, Dalka said grimly. They parked near the main administrative building. As Lena stepped out, she immediately began cataloging failures. No vehicle barriers, no tire spikes. The gate checkpoint was positioned wrong, too close to the buildings, giving attackers easy access once they breached the perimeter. Inside, the administrative building was barely better. Cheap furniture, flickering fluorescent lights, a reception desk with nobody behind it. Dalka led them down a hallway to a conference room. Inside, 6 people waited, 4 men, 2 women, all wearing security uniforms or tactical gear. They looked tired. worn down, scared. "Everyone," Dalka said, "this is Lena Cross. She's taking over security operations effective immediately." The room's reaction was immediate. "American?" one of the men said in heavily accented English. He was young, early 20s, with a shaved head and suspicious eyes. "Another American? The last one got himself killed." "I'm aware," Lena said. "So what makes you different?" Lena set her bag on the table and pulled out the tablet. "I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to stop you from dying. Anyone not interested in that can leave now." Nobody moved, but the skepticism was thick. She pulled up the facility schematic and projected it onto the wall. "Your security is a disaster. No layered defense, no response protocols. Your perimeter is a joke. Your personnel are undertrained and overworked. If someone wanted to hit this facility, they could do it with 6 men and a truck bomb." The room shifted uncomfortably. "But they haven't," Lena continued, "which means they're not trying to destroy the facility. They're trying to control it. Control means extortion. Extortion means they need you alive. That's our advantage." An older man spoke up, gray hair, scarred hands, the bearing of a veteran. "And what do you propose we do exactly? The Vulture Group has 40 men. We have 8. The police won't help. The government won't intervene. We're on our own." "Then we make 8 feel like 40. Lena tapped the tablet. The schematic zoomed in on the perimeter. "First, we fix the basics. I want every light operational within 24 hours. I want the guard towers manned in shifts, 2 people minimum, rotating every 4 hours. I want vehicle barriers at the gate, concrete jersey barriers, staggered pattern, forces any vehicle to slow down." She looked at Dalka. "Can you source that equipment?" "If we have budget, yes." "You have budget. Meridian authorized unlimited operational spending. Use it." Dalka's eyebrows went up. "Unlimited?" "Whatever it takes to secure this facility." That's a direct quote from Hastings. The energy in the room shifted slightly. Hope, maybe. Or just surprise. Lena continued. "Second, we need intelligence. I want surveillance on every approach road. Cameras, motion sensors. If a car comes within a mile of this facility, I want to know about it." "The Vulture Group will just cut the cameras," the young skeptic said. "Then we'll know where they are when they do it. Surveillance isn't just about seeing, it's about forcing the enemy to reveal themselves." She moved to the next slide, internal layouts. "Third, we harden the critical infrastructure. Control room gets reinforced doors. Server room gets backup power and ventilation you can seal off. Anyone wants to access critical systems, they have to go through multiple checkpoints." Volkov was watching her carefully now, arms crossed. "This is basic stuff." Kessler proposed the same things. "And did you implement them?" Silence. "Why not?" The gray-haired veteran answered, "Because we were afraid. Kessler pushed too hard, too fast. The Vulture Group noticed. They killed him as a message. We backed off." "So you've been waiting to die slowly instead of fighting back?" His jaw tightened. "We've been trying to survive." Lena's voice softened slightly. "I understand that. But survival isn't enough anymore. They killed 2 of your people this morning. How many more before you decide waiting isn't working?" The room was silent. "Here's what's going to happen," Lena said. "We're going to implement these changes immediately. Not next week. Not when it's convenient. Tonight. And when the Vulture Group responds, and they will, we're going to be ready." "Ready how?" Volkov asked. Lena met her eyes. "Ready to make them regret coming here." The next 18 hours were chaos. Lena slept for 3 hours in a bare room in the security barracks, then spent the rest of the night overseeing implementation. Dalka proved surprisingly effective. Within hours, contractors arrived with concrete barriers, lighting equipment, and surveillance cameras. How he'd arranged it so quickly, Lena didn't ask. By dawn, the facility looked different. The perimeter lights blazed. Jersey barriers formed a serpentine pattern at the gate, forcing any vehicle to slow to walking speed. Cameras covered every approach angle, feeding to a newly established security office. And the guard towers were manned. Lena stood in the central courtyard as the sun rose, watching workers install the last of the motion sensors. Volkov approached, carrying 2 cups of coffee. You don't sleep much, Volkov observed, handing her one. Neither do you. I'm used to it. You just got off an 11-hour flight. Lena sipped the coffee. It was Turkish style. Thick, bitter, strong, perfect. Sleep is a luxury. We don't have luxuries right now. Volkov studied her. The men are talking. They're saying maybe you're the real thing. And what do you think? I think you know what you're doing, but knowledge and survival are different things. Volkov paused. Kessler knew what he was doing too. What happened to him? They poisoned him in his hotel room. Potassium chloride injection. Looks like a heart attack. He was dead before morning. The Romanian police ruled it natural causes. Volkov's voice was flat. We knew better, but without proof, there was nothing to do. Where's the hotel? Bucharest, 2 hours south. And his body? Cremated. His family took the ashes back to America. Lena absorbed this. Did he have a chance? Any warning? He got a phone call the night before. Afterward, he seemed different, distracted. He told me he was going to meet someone. Wouldn't say who. I found him the next morning. So they lured him out, isolated him, killed him quietly. Yes. They won't do that to me. Volkov's expression was skeptical. You think you're smarter than he was? No, I think I'm meaner. Before Volkov could respond, Dalka's voice crackled over the radio. Control to cross. We have movement on the North Perimeter Road, single vehicle, approaching fast. Lena's hand went to her radio. Description? Black van, no plates, 3 occupants visible. She looked at Volkov. This them? That's their style. Let's go. They ran to the security office, a converted storage room now packed with monitors. Dalka pointed to one screen showing the North Approach Road. A black panel van was indeed approaching, moving fast. Guards? Lena asked. North Tower is manned, 2 men, armed with shotguns. Not enough. Get everyone to defensive positions. Lock down the control room. Nobody goes in or out until I give the all clear. Dalka relayed the orders. Around the facility, personnel moved with surprising efficiency. The previous night's drills were paying off. Lena grabbed a radio and switched to the guard tower frequency. North Tower, this is Cross. Do not engage unless fired upon. Let them get to the gate, then we'll handle it. Copy, came the response. The van reached the facility perimeter and slowed, navigating the New Jersey barriers. It stopped at the gate. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then the side door slid open. 4 men stepped out, all armed. AK pattern rifles clearly visible. No attempt to hide them. Jesus, Dalka breathed. They're not even pretending anymore. The lead man was tall, broad-shouldered, with a shaved head and facial scars that looked like they'd come from a knife. He walked straight up to the gate and stared directly at the camera. Then he smiled. Lena keyed the radio. Gate guard, this is Cross. Do not open the gate. Tell them to state their business. The gate guard's voice cracked with fear. What if they shoot? They won't. Not yet. They're here to send a message. Let them send it. On the monitor, the scarred man pulled out a phone and made a call. 3 seconds later, Lena's encrypted phone rang. She answered. You must be the new American, the voice said. Rough, accented, amused. I am Gavril Nistor. Perhaps Victor has mentioned me. Beside her, Dalka's face went white. I know who you are, Lena said. Good. Then you know why I am here. We had an arrangement with Meridian. They pay. We protect. Simple. Clean. Everyone makes money. That arrangement is over, Gavril laughed. Is it? Because I see changes to this facility. New lights, new barriers, new security. This tells me Meridian is preparing for conflict. Meridian is preparing to operate without extortion. Extortion. Such an ugly word. We prefer to call it insurance. Call it whatever you want. We're not paying. The laughter died. Then you are making a mistake. The last man who made this mistake is dead. You will join him. He was alone. I'm not. You think your 8 guards will stop us? We have 40 men. We have connections. We have the police. You have nothing. Lena's voice went cold. I have this facility. I have unlimited resources. and I have zero interest in negotiating with criminals. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. You're going to tell whoever you work for that Meridian is done being a victim. And then you're going to wait for us to dismantle your operation piece by piece. Silence on the line. Then, you are very brave, or very stupid. I look forward to finding out which. The call ended. On the monitor, Gavril turned and walked back to the van. The four men climbed in. The van reversed, navigated the barriers, and drove away. Dalka exhaled slowly. You just declared war on the Vulture Group. They declared war when they killed Kessler, Lena said. I'm just making it official. Volkov was staring at her with something between admiration and horror. You realize they'll come back. Tonight. Tomorrow. Soon. And next time they won't just talk. Good. Good. The waiting is over. Now we know where we stand. Lena turned to the monitors, studying the facility layout with fresh eyes. Dalka, I need a full inventory of weapons, everything we have on site. We have shotguns, some pistols, nothing heavy. Then get something heavy. Call Meridian. Tell them we need real weapons. Rifles, body armor, ammunition, medical supplies. Everything you'd need to defend against a sustained assault. That will take days. Then we have days. Use them. She looked at Volkov. You said the police are compromised? Completely. Then we need our own intelligence network. I want to know everything about the Vulture Group, where they operate, who they work with, where they keep their money. Every piece of information you can find. That's not security work, that's intelligence gathering. It's all the same war. Lena pulled out her encrypted phone and sent a message to Hastings. First contact made. Situation escalating. Need full tactical support package. Authorized lethal response protocols. The reply came back in under a minute. Approved. Support inbound. Rules of engagement. Protect the facility at all costs. She showed the message to Dalka and Volkov. Meridian just gave us permission to fight back, Lena said. Are you with me? Dalka looked at Volkov. Volkov looked at the monitors showing the empty perimeter. Then Volkov smiled, sharp and dangerous. About damn time, she said. Well, the attack came 36 hours later. Lena was in the security office when the alarms went off, motion sensors on the east perimeter triggering in sequence. She checked the monitors, 3 vehicles approaching from different angles. Coordinated. Professional. Wake everyone, she ordered. Full defensive positions. Now! The facility came alive. Guards scrambled to positions. Workers evacuated to the hardened control room. Lights blazed across every angle. Lena grabbed her rifle, a Meridian-supplied M4 carbine that had arrived via emergency courier, and headed to the East Tower. Volkov was already there, scanning the approaches with night vision. 6 men visible. Maybe more in the vehicles. They're spreading out. Let them come. The vehicles stopped just outside the fence line. Men emerged, 10 in total, all armed with rifles. They moved with military precision, establishing a perimeter. Then one of them pulled out a megaphone. Meridian facility. The voice echoed across the compound. You have 1 hour to evacuate. After that, we will destroy this facility. This is your only warning. Lena keyed her radio. All positions, hold fire. Do not engage. She pulled out her own megaphone and stepped to the edge of the tower. This facility is under the protection of Meridian Energy and the United States government, she called back. You are trespassing on private property. Leave now or face consequences. Laughter from below. The American woman, the voice responded. Gavril told us about you. He said you were brave or stupid. We will see which. Movement in the darkness. One of the men was setting up something on a tripod. Volkov cursed. RPG. They're going to blow the gate. Lena's mind raced. They had seconds to decide. Let them destroy the gate and they'd breach the facility. Fight back now and people would die. But this was the moment. The point of no return. She'd spent 2 years trying to leave this life behind. 2 years working quiet jobs. Avoiding conflict. Staying small. That life was over. Lena raised the M4 to her shoulder and flipped off the safety. All positions, she said into the radio, her voice steady and cold. You are weapons free. I repeat, weapons free. Take them down. For 1 heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the facility exploded into violence. Gunfire erupted from 3 guard towers simultaneously. Controlled. Disciplined. The eastern perimeter lit up with muzzle flashes as the Vulture Group attackers scattered, returning fire. The man with the RPG went down before he could fire. Volkov shot, clean through the chest. "Moving!" Lena shouted, running down the tower stairs. She emerged into the courtyard and sprinted toward the perimeter, using buildings for cover. 2 attackers were trying to cut through the fence. She dropped to one knee, acquired the first target, and fired. 3-round burst, center mass. He crumpled. The second man turned, raising his weapon. Lena was faster. He went down hard. Around the facility, the battle raged. Volkov was providing precision fire from the tower. Dalka had organized a team to cover the west approach, where 2 more vehicles had appeared. But the Vulture Group wasn't retreating. They were pressing forward, pouring fire into the facility, trying to overwhelm the defenses through sheer aggression. Lena moved between positions, directing fire, calling targets, keeping everyone coordinated. This was what she'd been trained for, not corporate security, but combat. Real, brutal, unforgiving. An explosion rocked the north side. Someone had breached the fence. "North Tower, report!" Lena shouted into her radio. Static. "North Tower!" Still nothing. She ran. The north section was chaos. The fence was blown open, smoke still rising. 3 Vulture Group fighters were pushing through, firing wildly. One of the tower guards was down, bleeding. The other was pinned behind cover. Lena came around the corner and opened fire. The first attacker went down immediately. The second managed to turn and fire back, bullets cracking past her head, before her next burst caught him in the shoulder, spinning him down. The third ran. She let him go. Instead, she ran to the wounded guard. Young kid, the skeptic from the first meeting. He was clutching his leg, blood seeping between his fingers. "I've got you," Lena said, pulling out a tourniquet from her kit. She worked fast, tying it above the wound, cinching it tight. "You're going to be fine." They just kept coming. "Not anymore." She keyed her radio. "Control. I need medical at the North Tower. 1 wounded. Stable but needs immediate attention." Dalka's voice came back. "Medical en route. West side is clear. They're retreating." Lena stood and looked out at the perimeter. The vehicles were indeed pulling back, engines roaring. Bodies littered the ground. 4, maybe 5. The Vulture Group had taken heavy casualties and gained nothing. The firing stopped. Silence descended, broken only by distant sirens and the crackling of small fires. Volkov appeared beside her, breathing hard. "Jesus, we actually did it." "We survived," Lena corrected. "They'll come back." "Not tonight, they won't." Lena looked at the bodies, at the wounded guard being carried to the medical room, at the facility that had just proven it could defend itself. This wasn't victory, this was a statement, and every criminal organization within 500 miles would hear it by morning. Lena Cross had arrived, and she wasn't going anywhere. Dawn broke over a battlefield. Lena stood in the facility courtyard, watching medics load the wounded guard into an ambulance. His name was Andre. She'd learned that after tying the tourniquet. 23 years old, worked security to pay for engineering school. He'd survive, the medics said. Keep the leg, probably. But he'd carry the scars. Around her, the facility looked like a war zone. Bullet holes pocked concrete walls. Shattered glass glittered across pavement. The fence section blown by the RPG hung in twisted metal strips. Blood stained the ground in dark pools where bodies had fallen before Vulture Group's surviving fighters had dragged them away during the retreat. 4 confirmed enemy casualties left behind. 2 dead, 2 wounded, and captured. 0 friendly fatalities. Lena had run the numbers 3 times, disbelieving. In a firefight against superior numbers, they should have lost people. Should have been overrun. But her defensive positions had held. Her preparation had mattered, or maybe she'd just gotten lucky. Volkov approached, her face smudged with gunpowder residue. "Romanian police are here, at the gate, demanding entry." "How many?" 6 officers, led by a captain named Barbu. "He's not friendly." "He's on Vulture's payroll," Dalka said, walking up behind them. His jacket was torn, blood on his sleeve. Not his own. "Everyone knows it. He'll try to arrest us for the shooting." "Let him try." Lena walked to the gate where 6 Romanian police officers stood outside the new barriers. Their uniforms were rumpled, their postures casual, men accustomed to being ignored. The captain was mid-50s, heavy-set, with the flat eyes of someone who'd compromised himself years ago and stopped caring. "You will open this gate," he said in accented English. "This is a crime scene. I am ordering you to—" "This is private property," Lena interrupted, "and you have no jurisdiction here." Barbu's face reddened. "I'm a captain of the Romanian National Police. I have jurisdiction everywhere in Romania. Not on property owned by an American energy corporation under international protection agreements. Check your legal department." "You killed Romanian citizens." "We defended against armed criminals attempting to destroy this facility. I have video evidence of everything. Would you like to see it?" Barbu's jaw worked. Behind him, the other officers shifted uncomfortably. "The men you killed," he said, voice dropping. "They have families, connections. You have created a very dangerous situation. They created the situation when they attacked us with rifles and explosives. This is not America. Things work differently here." Lena stepped closer to the gate, close enough that Barbu had to look up slightly to meet her eyes. "You're right. This isn't America. In America, corrupt police officers go to prison. Here, apparently, they get to walk around with badges. But that stops today." His face went purple. "You dare! I have video of your officers at Vulture Group meetings. I have financial records showing payments from known criminals to police accounts. I have phone logs. And in about 6 hours, all of that evidence will be in the hands of DICOT and the American Embassy." DICOT, the Romanian Organized Crime Prosecution Office. Barbu's eyes widened slightly. "You're bluffing. Try me." For 10 seconds, nobody moved. Then Barbu turned and walked back to his police car. The other officers followed. They drove away without another word. Volkov whistled low. "You weren't bluffing, were you?" "No. Meridian's intelligence team pulled those records last night. I sent them to the embassy an hour ago." "You're going to make a lot of enemies doing that." "I already have a lot of enemies. Might as well make them official." Dalka was staring at her with new respect. "Where did you learn to do that? The firefight, the command presence, the intelligence work, that's not normal security consulting." Lena met his eyes. "No, it's not." "So what are you really?" Before she could answer, her encrypted phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Incoming call from Hastings. She stepped away from the others. "Cross." "What the hell happened?" Hastings' voice was tight, stressed. "I have reports of a firefight, casualties, Romanian police involvement. The embassy is calling me. Our legal team is having a heart attack. We were attacked by Vulture Group. Approximately 10 fighters, multiple vehicles, RPG. We defended the facility successfully. 4 enemy casualties, 1 friendly wounded, non-critical. Facility is secure." Silence on the line, then, "You killed 4 people?" 2. The others died from wounds sustained during the attack." "Jesus Christ, Lena, this isn't what we hired you for." "You hired me to protect this facility. That's what I did." "By starting a war?" "They started the war. I finished the battle." She heard Hastings exhale slowly. In the background, voices. Other people in the room with him. A woman saying something about liability. A man mentioning the board of directors. "Stand by," Hastings said. The line went to hold music. Lena waited, watching the sun climb higher. Around the facility, workers were beginning to emerge from shelter, looking at the damage, talking in hushed voices. Some looked terrified, others looked proud. The hold music clicked off. A new voice came on, female, older, authoritative. "Ms. Cross, this is Margaret Thornton, Meridian's General Counsel. I need you to understand the legal situation you've created." "I'm listening." "Romanian law is complicated regarding use of force. Self-defense is permitted, but the threshold is high. You killed 2 people and wounded 2 more. There will be an investigation, possibly criminal charges. They attacked us with military weapons." "I believe you, but proving that in a Romanian court, especially when local police are hostile, will be extremely difficult. You've put Meridian in a very vulnerable position." Lena's voice stayed calm. "What would you have preferred? That we let them destroy a $40 billion facility? That we evacuate and surrender?" I would have preferred you call the police. The police are working for Vulture Group. Then call the embassy, call Dai Kot, call someone with legal authority. There wasn't time. We had seconds to decide. Thornton was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her tone had shifted, less accusatory, more calculating. Walk me through your decision-making process, step by step. Lena did. The approach of vehicles, the armed men, the RPG setup, the megaphone warning, the imminent threat to the facility and personnel, the authorization Hastings had given for lethal response protocols. When she finished, Thornton said, "You recorded everything?" "Yes. Video, audio, radio communications, all time-stamped." "And you genuinely believed the facility would be destroyed if you didn't engage?" "I know it would have been." "All right, here's what's going to happen. You will send me every piece of evidence you have. Every video file, every photograph, every document. Our legal team will build a self-defense case. We'll coordinate with the American Embassy and DII COT. But Ms. Cross..." "Yes?" "If this happens again, if there is another firefight, another body count, you call us first, before you pull the trigger. Understood?" "If there's time." "Make time." The line clicked. Hastings came back on. "Lena," his voice was different now, quieter. "Margaret is right. You've created a legal nightmare, but she's also impressed. She said your decision-making was textbook, military grade. It was necessary. I know, and for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. The board is scared, but they also see the results. For the first time in 3 years, someone actually defended one of our facilities successfully. What happens now? Now we double down. If we back off, we look weak. Vulture Group will hit us harder, so we reinforce. More personnel, more weapons, more resources. I'm authorizing a full tactical team deployment. Ex-military, high-tier contractors. They'll arrive within 48 hours. How many? 12, plus equipment. Enough to hold that facility against anything short of an army. Lena processed this. 12 professional contractors meant real combat power, but it also meant she'd be commanding a team, not just coordinating local security. "I'll need full operational authority," she said. "You'll have it. Command structure is yours. They'll report to you." "And if Romanian authorities try to arrest me?" "The embassy will intervene. You're covered. Just try not to kill anyone else for a few days, okay?" The line went dead. Lena lowered the phone and stood in the morning light, feeling the weight of what had just happened. In less than 24 hours, she'd gone from security consultant to combat commander, from civilian contractor to someone the embassy was running interference for. This wasn't the quiet life she'd tried to build. This was the life she'd left behind. Dalka approached carefully. "Everything okay?" "Meridian is sending reinforcements. 12 contractors, full tactical package." His eyebrows rose. 12? That's not security, that's a military unit. That's what this has become. Volkov joined them, wiping blood off her rifle with a rag. "So what now? We wait for them to attack again?" "No, we take the fight to them." Both of them stared at her. "Explain," Dalka said. Lena pulled out her tablet and opened a map of the region. Red markers indicated known Vulture Group locations, warehouses, safe houses, meeting points. Intelligence Meridian had gathered over months. "We've been playing defense," Lena said, "waiting for them to hit us, then responding. That's a losing strategy. They choose the time, the place, the method. We're always reacting." "So you want to attack them?" Volkov's voice was skeptical. "We don't have the numbers." "We don't need numbers, we need precision. Hit them where it hurts, their money, their operations, their leadership. Make them defend instead of attack." "That's not security work," Dalka said. "That's offensive operations. And right now the best defense is offense." She zoomed in on a warehouse 20 kilometers south. "This location. Intelligence says it's a drug distribution hub. Vulture Group uses it to move heroin through Romania into Western Europe. Revenue? Approximately 15 million euros annually." "You want to raid it?" Volkov looked both excited and terrified. "I want to burn it to the ground." Dalka shook his head. "That's insane. Romanian police will arrest us for sure. Not if we give them a reason to thank us instead." Lena pulled up another file, evidence of police corruption, Vulture Group payoffs, drug trafficking records. We hit the warehouse. Simultaneously, DIICOT gets an anonymous tip with all this evidence. By the time police arrive, we're gone, and they find enough drugs to make international headlines. And you think DIICOT will protect us? I think they'll be too busy arresting Vulture Group members to worry about who gave them the evidence. Volkov laughed, surprised, genuine. You're absolutely crazy. Probably. Are you in? Volkov looked at Dalka. He looked at the map, at the facility around them, at the blood still staining the pavement. When Kessler was here, Dalka said slowly, he wanted to do something like this. I told him it was too dangerous, too aggressive. A week later, he was dead. I'm not Kessler. No, you're not. He met her eyes. He was cautious, careful, professional. And you're something else entirely. He paused. What are you really, Ms. Cross? Because no security consultant fights like you just did. No risk analyst commands a firefight with that kind of precision. You're military, special operations, if I had to guess. Lena considered her answer carefully. These people had just fought beside her, trusted her, followed her orders into combat. They deserved some truth. Navy, she said quietly. Special warfare. 8 years. Volkov's eyes widened. SEAL? Lena nodded. The silence that followed was heavy with understanding. Jesus, Dalka breathed. Meridian sent us a SEAL. Former SEAL. I've been out for 5 years. Why did you leave? That was a harder question, one Lena usually avoided, but standing in the aftermath of battle, with people who'd bled beside her, evasion felt wrong. Because I got tired of following orders I didn't believe in, she said. Tired of missions that didn't make sense. Tired of losing people for objectives that changed every 6 months. So I got out, tried to build something different. How's that working out? Volkov asked, gesturing at the bullet-riddled facility. Lena smiled slightly. Still deciding. Dalka was quiet for a long moment. Then, all right, if we're going to hit that warehouse, we need a plan, a real one. Entry points, escape routes, contingencies. We have 48 hours before the contractors arrive. We'll use that time to prep. And if Vulture Group attacks again before then we show them what happens when you corner a SEAL. Tim. The next 2 days were controlled chaos. Lena ran the team through tactical drills, rehearsing room clearing and vehicle assault procedures. Volkov proved to be a fast learner, former Romanian army, she'd admitted, though she'd been out for years. Dalka had no combat experience, but compensated with organizational skills and local knowledge. The contracted tactical team arrived on schedule. 12 men, most American or British, all with combat experience ranging from Afghanistan to Syria. Their team leader was a grizzled former Delta operator named Jack Morrison, mid-40s, scarred hands, eyes that had seen too much. He walked into the facility's briefing room and stopped when he saw Lena. You're Cross? That's right? He studied her for a long moment. I was told the site commander was former Navy. They didn't mention what? That you were SEAL. He smiled slightly. I can always tell. It's the way you carry yourself. Like you're ready to kill someone, but too polite to mention it. And you're Delta. Was. Long time ago. He extended his hand. Jack Morrison. My team and I are yours to command. Meridian briefed us on the situation. Sounds like you've had an interesting week. That's one way to put it. Over the next hour, Lena briefed Morrison's team on the facility's defenses, the threat profile, and her plans for the warehouse raid. They listened without interruption, taking notes, asking technical questions. When she finished, Morrison said, "Bold plan, aggressive. You're essentially declaring total war on a criminal organization." They declared war first. True. But you're escalating from defense to offense. That changes everything. Once you cross that line, there's no going back. I know. Do you? Because this isn't Afghanistan or Iraq. This is Romania, European Union, rule of law. You can't just run around shooting people and burning buildings. I'm not planning to shoot anyone. I'm planning to destroy an empty warehouse. And if it's not empty? Lena met his eyes. Then we adapt. Morrison studied her for another moment, then nodded. All right, we're in. But I want full tactical command during the raid. You're strategic, I'm tactical. Agreed? Agreed. They shook on it. The raid happened on night 4. 3 vehicles, 12 contractors, plus Lena, Volkov, and 2 facility security personnel. They hit the warehouse at 0200 hours, deep night, minimal witnesses. Morrison's team breached the perimeter in under 30 seconds. The warehouse was supposed to be empty. Intelligence had confirmed minimal overnight security. Intelligence was wrong. They encountered 4 guards inside, all armed. The firefight lasted less than a minute. Controlled bursts, suppressed weapons, professional execution. All 4 guards went down, 2 dead, 2 wounded. Lena moved through the warehouse, cataloging contents: heroin, cocaine, weapons, cash. Exactly what the intelligence had promised. Set the charges, she ordered. Morrison's team placed thermite devices at strategic points. Burn, not explode. Controlled destruction. They were evacuating when headlights appeared on the access road. Company, Morrison said calmly. 2 vehicles, multiple occupants. How long until the charges blow? 4 minutes. Then we leave now. They piled into vehicles and drove out the back access road, passing the approaching cars without engagement. Behind them, the warehouse erupted in brilliant white fire. Thermite burning at 3,000 degrees, consuming everything. By the time Vulture Group's reinforcements arrived, the building was an inferno, and Lena's team was gone. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Romanian media covered the warehouse fire extensively. Police found the bodies, the drugs, the weapons. Diicot received their anonymous tip and launched a massive investigation. Within 48 hours, 18 Vulture Group members were arrested. Within 72 hours, 3 senior members were in custody, including Gavril Nustor. And within 96 hours, Lena received another phone call. "You've made your point." The voice was new, older, more refined, American accent. "This is becoming expensive." "Who is this?" "Someone who represents interests larger than the Vulture Group, someone who would very much like to negotiate a settlement." "There's nothing to negotiate." "Ms. Cross, Lena, if I may, you're a talented operator, clearly highly trained. You've proven your capabilities, but surely you understand that this conflict is unsustainable. People are dying. Property is being destroyed. Authorities are involved. This benefits no one. It benefits Meridian. In the short term, perhaps, but what happens when Romanian authorities decide you're more trouble than you're worth? When American diplomatic protection dries up? When you're arrested and extradited? Is that a threat? It's reality. You're operating in a gray area legally. Eventually, that catches up to everyone. Lena's voice went cold. Here's my reality. I don't negotiate with criminals. I don't make deals with people who profit from extortion, drugs, and murder. And I don't walk away from fights I didn't start. Even when walking away would save your life? Especially then. Silence. Then, you're making a mistake. So you've said multiple times, with guns, with threats, with phone calls. And I'm still here. For now. The line went dead. Lena set down the phone and looked out at the facility. Lights blazing, guards patrolling, contractors running drills. This was no longer a security job. This was war, and she intended to win it. What? That evening, Hastings called with news. The board met today. They've reviewed everything. The firefight, the raid, the arrests, the media coverage. They're impressed. But they're also terrified. You've turned a security contract into an international incident. Legal is still dealing with Romanian prosecutors. The embassy is fielding questions from Washington. This has gotten bigger than anyone anticipated. Are they pulling me out? No, they're promoting you. Lena blinked. What? They want you to oversee security for all 17 facilities, not just Romania, everything. You'll have full authority, unlimited budget, and command over every security team in the region. That's insane, I know. But the board sees results. For the first time in years, criminal organizations are backing off. Extortion has stopped. Meridian is operating without interference. That's worth any amount of legal headaches. Lena thought about Kessler, about what this job had cost him. What if I say no? Then someone else takes over. Someone who probably isn't as good as you. Someone who might get people killed. That's not fair. No, it's not. But it's true. She stood at the window, watching the sun set over the facility, over the place she'd defended, the place that had become hers. I'll do it, she said, on one condition. Name it. Full operational autonomy, no interference from legal, no second guessing from the board. I make the calls, I take the risks, and I accept the consequences. Done. And Hastings? Yeah? Tell the board that this is who I am. I don't do half measures. I don't negotiate with criminals. I don't back down. If they want someone diplomatic, someone cautious, they need to find someone else. Hastings laughed quietly. I think they're starting to understand that. Welcome to the team, Commander Cross. The title hit her like a punch. Commander. She hadn't been called that in 5 years. It's just Lena, she said. Not anymore. You've earned it. The call ended. Lena stood in the darkness, feeling the weight of command settle back onto her shoulders, the weight she'd tried to escape, the weight that had followed her anyway. Outside, Morrison was running the night patrol. Volkov was checking perimeter sensors. Dalka was coordinating with DI Kot. Her team, her responsibility, her war. And for the first time in 5 years, that felt right. The notification came at dawn. Lena was reviewing security protocols in the operations center when her encrypted phone lit up with an alert from Meridian's intelligence division. She opened it and felt her blood go cold. Urgent. Credible threat to multiple facilities. Source indicates coordinated assault planned within 48 hours. Scale, unprecedented. Recommend immediate evacuation of non-essential personnel. She forwarded it to Morrison and Hastings simultaneously, then keyed her radio. All team leaders, Operations Center, now. Within 3 minutes, her core team assembled. Morrison, Volkov, Dalka, and the senior contractors. They stood around the tactical display as Lena pulled up the intelligence brief. Meridian's sources indicate Vulture Group is planning something big, she said. Not just one facility, multiple targets, simultaneous strikes designed to overwhelm our defenses. How credible is this? Morrison asked. Extremely. The source is someone high up in their organization, someone who just got arrested and is looking to cut a deal. Dalka frowned. Which facilities? All of them, or at least enough to send a message. Lena zoomed the map out, showing all 17 Meridian sites across Eastern Europe. They're trying to prove we can't protect everything at once. Can we? Volkov's question was direct. Lena looked at the map. 12 contractors plus local security spread across 17 facilities. The math was brutal. No, she admitted. Not if they hit everywhere simultaneously. Then we evacuate, Morrison said. Pull everyone back to the most defensible positions. Let them burn the rest. And lose billions in infrastructure? Lose credibility with every client Meridian has? Show every criminal organization in the region that threats work? Better than losing lives. Lena understood his logic. It was sound, tactical, conservative, everything a good commander should recommend. But it was also surrender. She thought about the phone call, the refined voice offering negotiation, the implication that she couldn't win. There's another option, she said quietly. Everyone looked at her. We don't defend, we attack. Morrison's expression hardened. Explain. Lena pulled up a different file. Surveillance photos, financial records, intercepted communications. Vulture Group has been weakened by the arrests. Their leadership is fractured. Their money is frozen. They're desperate, which is why they're planning this assault. But desperate organizations make mistakes. She pointed to a location on the map, a compound in the mountains north of Bucharest. This is their headquarters, where the remaining leadership operates from. If we hit them there, we decapitate the entire organization. That's not a security operation, Dalka said. That's an assassination. It's elimination of a clear and present threat. It's also illegal, very illegal. So is everything they've done to us. Morrison crossed his arms. Walk me through your thinking, because what you're describing is a direct action raid on a fortified compound in a sovereign nation. That crosses about 15 different lines. I know. And you want to do it anyway? I want to end this, permanently. not just defend against one attack and wait for the next. I want to make them incapable of threatening us ever again. Volkov was watching her intently. You've done this before, haven't you? This kind of operation. Lena met her eyes. Yes. Where? Places I can't talk about. Against targets I can't name. But yes, I've run direct action missions before. And I know the risks. Morrison walked to the window, thinking. The room waited. Finally, he turned back. If we do this, and I'm not saying we should, we'd need perfect intelligence, exact target location, numbers, defensive capabilities, escape routes. Anything less and we're walking into a slaughter. Meridian's source can provide that. He's already offered to cooperate fully in exchange for witness protection. And legal cover? There is none. If this goes wrong, we're on our own. Jesus. Morrison rubbed his face. You're asking my team to commit what amounts to an act of war. I'm asking your team to finish what Vulture Group started. The silence stretched. Then Volkov spoke. I'm in. Everyone looked at her. They killed Kessler, she continued, her voice hard. They've terrorized these facilities for years. They shot Andrei. They would have killed all of us if Lena hadn't stopped them. So yes, I'm in. Dalka was quieter. This goes beyond my authority, beyond my experience, but, he looked at Lena. I trust you. If you say this is the only way, I believe you. Morrison studied his team, seasoned professionals, all watching him, waiting for his decision. All right, he said finally, but we do this right, full mission planning, rehearsals, contingencies. And if at any point this looks like a suicide run, we abort. Agreed? Agreed, Lena said. They had 36 hours. Lena spent the first 12 extracting every piece of intelligence from Meridian's source, a mid-level Vulture Group accountant named Radu, who'd been arrested in the DII cot sweep. He was terrified, cooperative, and surprisingly detailed. The compound was a renovated monastery in the Carpathian foothills. 12 buildings, 20 to 30 occupants at any given time. Armed guards, perimeter security, but also weaknesses. Old construction, limited sightlines, single access road. Radu provided blueprints, guard schedules, communication protocols, everything. Why are you doing this? Lena asked during one interrogation session. Radu looked at her with hollow eyes. Because I have a daughter, 8 years old. I want her to grow up in a world where men like Gavril Nistor are in prison, not running criminal empires. You gave me a chance to make that happen, so I'm taking it. You know what they'll do to you if they find out. They won't. I'll disappear. New identity, new country. That's the deal, yes? That's the deal, he nodded. Then I sleep better knowing I helped end this. Lena studied him. Not a hero, just a tired accountant who'd made bad choices and found a way to make one good one. Sometimes that was enough. The mission planning took another 12 hours. Morrison's team ran through assault scenarios, rehearsed room-clearing procedures, identified rally points and extraction routes. They war-gamed everything that could go wrong. The list was long. Best case scenario, Morrison said during the final briefing, we're in and out in 20 minutes. Neutralize leadership, extract, burn the compound behind us. Romanian authorities arrive to find a smoking ruin and no witnesses. Worst case? Someone asked. We don't make it out. The room absorbed that. Anyone want to back out? Lena asked. No judgment. This is volunteer only. Nobody moved. All right then, she said. We go tonight. They hit the compound at 0300 hours. 4 vehicles approached from different angles, killing their lights a kilometer out. The night was moonless, cloud cover heavy. Perfect conditions. Lena rode in the lead vehicle with Morrison and 3 contractors. She wore full tactical gear for the first time in 5 years. Plate carrier, helmet, NVGs, suppressed M4. It fit like coming home. 1 minute, Morrison said quietly. The vehicles stopped. Teams dismounted in practiced silence. 12 operators plus Lena, all moving through darkness like shadows. The compound appeared ahead. Old stone walls, scattered lights, guard positions exactly where Radu had said they'd be. Morrison hand-signaled. 2 guards at the gate. 1 roving patrol. Sentries in the main building. Lena nodded. She'd seen it all through the NVGs. The assault began without words. Suppressed weapons coughed twice. The gate guards dropped. The patrol went down before he could raise his radio. Silence held. They moved through the gate, splitting into fire teams. Morrison took the main building. Lena took the secondary structure where intelligence said the leadership slept. Her team moved like water, flowing through doorways, clearing rooms, neutralizing threats with surgical precision. These weren't kids or amateurs. These were hardened criminals who'd killed, extorted, and terrorized for years. Lena felt no hesitation. The first room held 2 men, asleep. They never woke up. The second room was empty. The third held the target, Dmitry Volkov, Vulture Group's operational commander. Not the top. That was someone they'd never identified, but close enough. He was awake, reaching for a weapon on the nightstand. Lena was faster. "Don't," she said in Russian. He froze, hand inches from the pistol. "Lena Cross," he said, recognizing her from photos. "You made a mistake coming here." "That's what everyone keeps telling me. They're usually wrong. You think killing me ends this? We're bigger than one person, bigger than you can imagine." "Then I'll kill the next person, and the next, until there's nobody left." She saw him calculate, weighing options, looking for openings. He was experienced, dangerous, but Lena had been doing this since she was 22 years old. "Where's the money?" she asked. "What money?" "The account you used to pay off police, the one Radu told us about." His face went white. "Radu? That little—" "Gave us everything. Account numbers, transfer records, names. By tomorrow, DIICOT will have frozen every asset your organization controls." "You can't." "I already did." Dimitri's hand moved. Lena fired twice. Center mass, professional, clean. He collapsed. She moved to the next room. The raid took 18 minutes total. When Morrison's voice came over the radio, "All targets secured, beginning extraction," Lena was already outside, setting thermite charges on the main buildings. They withdrew in good order, silent and efficient. Behind them, the compound erupted in brilliant white fire. By the time Romanian police arrived 2 hours later, the buildings were ash and the attackers were gone. The fallout was seismic. Romanian media exploded with coverage. DIICOT held press conferences announcing the dismantling of the Vulture Group. Interpol issued statements about international cooperation against organized crime. Nobody mentioned Meridian. Nobody mentioned Lena Cross, which was exactly how she wanted it. 1 week later, she stood in Hastings' office via video call, watching him navigate the political aftermath. "The board is conflicted," he said carefully. "On one hand, you achieved the objective. Vulture Group is finished. Our facilities are operating without interference. Revenue is up. On the other hand, you conducted what amounts to a military operation on foreign soil." "I'm aware." "The Romanian government is asking questions, quietly, unofficially. They know it wasn't police or military. They suspect private action." "Can they prove anything?" "No, but they don't need proof to make life difficult." Hastings leaned back. "Lena, you've done incredible work. You've secured facilities we thought were indefensible. You've eliminated threats we didn't think could be eliminated, but you've also crossed lines that make the board extremely nervous. Are they terminating my contract?" "No, they're offering you a choice." Lena waited. Option 1. You stay on as Chief of Security for all Eastern European operations. Full authority, massive budget. Everything you've built, you continue building, but you operate within strict legal boundaries. No more raids, no more direct action, pure defense. And option 2? You transition to a different role, something we're calling special solutions. Off the books. Deniable. When Meridian has problems that can't be solved through legal channels, you solve them, any way you see fit. Lena was quiet for a long moment. "That's not a security job," she said. "That's a black ops position." "Yes. Meridian is an energy company, not an intelligence agency. Meridian operates in places where laws don't always protect us, where threats are real and authorities are compromised. We need someone who can operate in that gray area. Someone expendable." Hastings met her eyes through the screen. "Someone capable. Someone who's proven they can do what needs to be done. That's you, Lena." She thought about the life she'd tried to build. Quiet. Simple. Away from violence. That life had never really existed. She'd been fooling herself. What if I choose neither, she asked. Then you walk away. We pay out your contract, give you glowing references, and you go back to whatever you were doing before. Jogging in suburbs, working as a risk analyst. Pretending to be someone you're not. The words hit hard because they were true. Lena looked out the window at the facility, her facility now, the place she'd defended, the people she'd protected, the war she'd won. I need time to think, she said. You have 24 hours. The call ended. Lena walked the facility perimeter that night, listening to the sound of her own footsteps. Volkov found her near the east fence. Heard you're leaving. Maybe. Haven't decided. You should stay. The team needs you. The team needs a commander. Doesn't have to be me. Bullshit. Volkov leaned against the fence. I've worked with a lot of people. Most are competent. Some are good. You're different. You see 3 moves ahead. You make hard decisions without hesitation. You care about your people, but don't let that stop you from doing what's necessary. That's rare. That's exhausting. So is being mediocre. Lena smiled slightly. You sound like my old CO. Smart person. They stood in silence, watching lights twinkle across the valley. What do you want, Lena? Volkov asked quietly. Not what Meridian wants. Not what the mission requires. What do you want? It was a question Lena had been avoiding for 5 years. I wanted peace, she said. I wanted to leave the violence behind, build something normal. And I can't. Every time I try, the violence finds me anyway. Suburb streets, foreign compounds. Doesn't matter where I go. This is who I am. So stop fighting it. Just accept that I'm a weapon. Accept that you're good at protecting people, that you make a difference, that the world needs people like you, even if it's uncomfortable to admit. Lena looked at her. You're very wise for someone who just turned 30. I'm 32, and I've learned that pretending to be something you're not is a faster way to die than being honest about what you are. Volkov pushed off the fence. Whatever you decide, I respect it. But for what it's worth, I'm glad you were here. Kessler was good. You're better. And that made all the difference. She walked away, leaving Lena alone with her thoughts. The next morning, Lena called Hastings. I've made my decision, she said. And? Option 3. Silence. Then, there is no option 3. There is now. I'll stay on as Chief of Security for Eastern Europe, but not permanently. Give me 1 year to build a proper security infrastructure. Train local teams, establish protocols, make these facilities defensible without me. And after that year, I'll transition to your special solutions role, but on my terms. I choose the missions. I assemble the teams. I decide what's acceptable and what crosses the line. The board won't like that. The board wants problems solved. I'm offering to solve them. They can accept my conditions or find someone else. Hastings was quiet. She heard keyboard typing, probably messaging the board in real time. Finally, they're agreeing, provisionally, with oversight. No oversight, that's non-negotiable. Lena, if they don't trust me to make the right calls, they shouldn't hire me. It's that simple. More typing, longer pause. All right, full autonomy. 1 year to build the security program, then transition to special solutions on your terms. Congratulations, Commander Cross. You just negotiated the strangest contract in Meridian's history. Good. Send me the paperwork. She hung up and stood in the operations center, looking at the monitors showing all 17 facilities. Her facilities now. Her responsibility. For 1 year. Then something different. It wasn't the quiet life she'd imagined, but it was real, honest, true to who she actually was. And maybe that was enough. 6 months later, Lena stood on a secure platform at the Romanian facility, watching sunrise paint the Carpathian Mountains gold. The facility hummed with efficient activity. Guards rotated through shifts with precision. Cameras covered every angle. Response protocols were drilled weekly. The security infrastructure she'd built was working. Morrison approached with coffee. Morning briefing in 10. We've got reports from the Bulgarian facility, possible sabotage attempt, already handled by local team. Good. That's what I want to hear. Local teams handling local problems. Your training program is working. People are learning to think like you. Scary thought. He smiled. Not really. The world could use more people who stand their ground. Lena sipped the coffee, watching workers move through morning routines. Safe, productive, unafraid. This was what she'd fought for, not just buildings and pipelines, people, lives, the chance to work without fear. Her encrypted phone buzzed. Message from Hastings. New situation developing in Kazakhstan. Might need special solutions. Are you ready? She looked at the message for a long moment, then typed back. 6 more months, then we'll talk. The response was immediate. Roger that. We'll be waiting. Lena pocketed the phone and turned back to Morrison. Let's go see what the Bulgarian team did right. I want to make sure we replicate it everywhere. They walked toward the operations center together, colleagues and warriors building something that would outlast them both. Behind her, the sun climbed higher, burning away the last of the night. 18 months after arriving in Romania, Lena Cross stood in Meridian's corporate headquarters, shaking hands with the board of directors. You've exceeded every expectation, the chairman said. Our Eastern European operations are the most secure in the company's history. Incident rates down 92%. Employee confidence at all-time highs. You've built something remarkable. We built something sustainable, Lena corrected. It'll last because it doesn't depend on one person. That's what makes it remarkable. Most security programs collapse when the architect leaves. Yours won't. The meeting concluded with formalities, awards, recognition, gratitude. Lena accepted it all with grace, but minimal attachment. This wasn't why she'd done it. Afterward, she met Volkov and Dalka for dinner at a quiet restaurant in Bucharest. To Commander Cross, Dalka toasted, the woman who saved us all. To the team that did the actual work, Lena countered, clinking glasses. Volkov studied her. You're really leaving? Transitioning, not leaving, into the shadows? Into where I'm most useful, which is hunting monsters in places polite society pretends don't exist. Lena smiled. Something like that. Sounds lonely. Sounds necessary. They ate in comfortable silence. 3 people who'd been through war together and come out the other side changed, but intact. Later, walking through Bucharest's old town, Volkov asked, Do you ever regret it? Leaving the Navy, building this new life, getting dragged back into violence? Lena considered the question honestly. No, she said finally. I regret trying to be something I'm not. I regret pretending the quiet life would satisfy me. But I don't regret finding my way back to who I actually am. And who is that? Someone who stands in the gap. Someone who protects people who can't protect themselves. Someone who makes hard choices so others don't have to. A warrior, if that's what you want to call it. Volkov stopped walking, turning to face her. Lena, I've known a lot of warriors. Most are broken, haunted, destroyed by what they've done. You're different. You carry it, but it doesn't crush you. How? Lena thought about the question she'd been asked 100 times in 100 different ways. Because I know why I fight, she said quietly. Not for countries or corporations or abstract ideals. For people. Real people with names and faces and families. Every time I pull a trigger or make a hard call, I can picture exactly who I'm protecting. That clarity, that purpose, it keeps me whole. And when the missions stop making sense, when the lines get too blurry, then I stop, walk away, find something else. Lena smiled. But until then, I do what I'm good at, and I try to leave things better than I found them. They resumed walking, 2 warriors in a city that had seen its share of violence, building peace in the aftermath. A city, the final day came quietly. Lena handed command of Eastern European security to Morrison in a brief ceremony. No speeches, no fanfare, just a transfer of authority and mutual respect. You built something good here, Morrison said. Don't forget that when you're out there doing the dark work. I won't. And Lena, if you ever need backup, real backup, no questions asked, you call me. Understood? Understood. They shook hands, brothers and sisters in arms across different battlefields. Lena's flight left that evening. She boarded with a single bag, traveling light as always. As the plane lifted off, she looked down at Romania, the country where she'd found herself again, where she'd stopped pretending and started being honest. Her phone buzzed. Encrypted message from an unlisted number. First mission briefing tomorrow. Location, classified. Nature, critical. Welcome to Special Solutions. She read it twice, then deleted it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new enemies, new battles. But tonight, somewhere over Europe, Lena Cross allowed herself a moment of peace. She'd spent 5 years running from who she was. Now she was running toward it, and the difference made all the difference. The woman who'd been threatened on a suburban street, who'd had a gun pressed to her head by men who thought they knew how it would end, no longer existed. In her place stood something harder, sharper, forged in combat and tempered by choice. A protector, a warrior. A woman who'd learned the most important lesson of all: never mistake quiet for weakness. Some threats wake the wrong person, and once awakened, some warriors never sleep again. Message to everyone listening. The world will test you. It will push you. It will try to make you small, compliant, afraid. Some people will mistake your restraint for weakness, your patience for vulnerability, your choice to be kind for an inability to be dangerous. Let them make that mistake, because the strongest people aren't those who never face fear. They're the ones who face it and refuse to break. The most dangerous people aren't those who go looking for fights. They're the ones who end fights decisively when there's no other choice. Know who you are, own it, and never apologize for being capable, competent, or unwilling to be a victim. The world needs more people who stand their ground. Be one of them.